One of the best things about music production is that power you feel when you're able to completely transform a sound. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 levels of sound design, the techniques that comprise them, and how to apply them in your work. The first level of sound design includes preset surfing, macro adjustments, using samples with basic manipulation, and basic automation. But hold up, I just want to say that these levels don't necessarily equate to better sounding music. They're more so about the number of steps when processing a sound. For this video, I'm excited to use Phase Plant by Kilohearts. It's finally on Splice rent to own. You can try it free and we'll have the link in the description. So let's kick off level 1 with preset surfing. A preset is a safe configuration of parameters for any given plugin. Regardless if you're a beginner or pro, presets are a great starting point and can really save you some time. I'd recommend taking advantage of any tagging or hearting systems. On Faceplant, you can hit the heart icon and save them for later. And try using search with specific instruments or moods. That'll generally yield quick results. I also consider using macros as part of being level 1 sound design. These top level parameters will often instantly add variety to the sound. Here's an example of where I think the preset's inappropriate for the accompanying drums. This preset leaves more space for the additional elements. I think level 1 sound design for samples is using them as is or transposing them up and down. Basically pretty light audio processing. Sound selection goes a super long way. Listen to this pattern with some stock sounds. I'm going to try to find some drums from this Robo-Talkie pack on Splice. A super powerful workflow is to hit this similar sounds icon. This uses AI to scan for similar samples, and you can keep triggering it until you hone into the sample you really like. I'm going to try typing chords so that I can find a preset where one note will trigger a whole chord. Now let's go to the macros and dial back the attack. Transposing, reversing, and stretching samples are quick actions you can take to change the sound. Automating parameters over time is a great way to add movement to your sound. I'm going to try automating the pan on this vibra-slap percussion sound. Things start really expanding with level 2 techniques, which includes the Init Preset, Subtractive Synthesis, basic modulator use, using samples with advanced manipulation, recording your own sounds, and intermediate automation. So the Init Preset stands for Initialized or Initial Preset. This will basically provide a blank slate for your sound design session. Generally, in any synth, you can find the Init Preset in the preset menu. My favorite thing about Faceplant is that it's semi-modular and it starts in this initialized state. So let's single click and add in an analog oscillator. One of the most important parameters to control is the loudness over time, as well as the oscillator type. I also like how you can visualize pitch adjustments in Faceplant. We'll take advantage of the harmonic and shift parameters in level 3, but essentially harmonic just goes up the harmonic series, and shift is like fine-tuning the pitch. A good next step to sound design this further would be to add a filter to this. And getting into the world of modulators is a big step of level 2 sound design. Let's try linking this envelope to the filter's cutoff parameter. Now the timing of this envelope will control how quickly that cutoff parameter jumps up and down. I've added a distortion, chorus, and EQ to further sculpt the sound. And this is what's known as subtractive synthesis, where we're taking away from that raw oscillator. Let's use the second macro to control a few parameters in this processing chain. There are so many ways to manipulate samples, but as soon as you start chopping them and adding effects, I consider that to be level 2. So as soon as we chop one syllable from this vocal and then add a delay and maybe a tape stop effect, it's harder to recognize it from the original sample. Part of level 2 sound design is to start recording your own sounds. So I have this backbone to a beat setup, and rather than find a percussion sample, I'm going to record a frame drum in my studio. It's a South Indian drum known as a kanjira, and I think this will give the beat a more unique sound design edge. Now I'm going to add some mellow-fi to give it some width. And add riff to give a crazy dub effect. Level 3 sound design includes FM, wavetable synthesis, and beyond, advanced modulator use, radically flipping samples, building instruments for recording specific sounds, and advanced automation. FM synthesis requires two things in order to work: a carrier wave and a modulator wave. I love Faceplant because it's really easy to set up FM synthesis. It also helps you visualize what's actually going on. So as you bring up the level of the modulator, you'll see how it affects the carrier waveform. So it would make sense to modulate this level. And changing the ratio of the pitch between the modulator and the carrier is one of the most impactful things you can do to change the sound. Since FM can be so wild, sometimes it's nice to use subtle amounts of modulation. We can then color the sound with some distortion and dynamics. So we can level up this FM synth patch with some advanced automation. I think advanced automation is when you get two or more parameters that interact with each other. It can get as nuanced as how automation patterns fit with each other. For example, this track turns off in a rhythmic fashion, and then the tape stop turns on. There are too many forms of synthesis to cover in this video, but I wanted to highlight wavetable synthesis. Wavetables are basically an index of different wave shapes. Each of these frames can contain a different shape, and the idea is you modulate the frames over time to create movement in the sound. I think level 3 modulation is when you start modulating the modulators, meaning this second LFO will change the speed of the first LFO. With Faceplant and other synths, you can get extremely meticulous and edit each individual frame. So I've got two fun sound design challenges for y'all to really force yourself to practice these techniques. The first is to use ONE Synth to create an entire track. So that means you have to try to synthesize drums, which will be the harder part. If you want to make it really hard, start from the Init Preset for all your instruments. This is a really great way to force yourself to explore the oscillators, envelopes, and effects. We'll have the project files and all the presets from this video for a free download in the description. Here's what I came up with only using Faceplant. Second sound design challenge is to try to use one sample and create an entire track from it. This will really force you to explore transient shaping plugins to make drums, and it'll really test your EQing and filtering abilities. My cat Bob meows all the time when I'm trying to film videos, so I decided to let him in on the action. I recorded one single meow sample and then try to make all the drums, bass, chords from that. To start making a kick, you can transpose the sample down really low and just make it short and then start processing it afterwards. You'll want to resample a lot. I recorded this onto a second track with a lot more transient shaping. Then I resampled it a third time. I tried to use only Bitwig stock effects, and I'll say the resonator and transient control came in super clutch. Rinse and repeat those steps for the rest of the drums. If you loop small portions of a sample, you can make it into an instrument. So I got to the end of this video and realized the scope of sound design techniques is so immense, I'll have to make a follow-up. I hope you learned something or gained some inspiration. I'm going to play this idea to close this out, and remember, you can download all the presets and projects for free. Link will be in the description.